You deserve better. It sounds empowering, comforting, almost noble, but in reality, it's become one of the most damaging lies in modern relationships. It lets everyone off the hook. It absolves accountability, flatters ego, and fuels delusion. The phrase was meant to heal, but now it hides. It hides from introspection, from growth, from truth. Because what if the problem wasn't that you deserved better, but that you didn't do better? The modern dating world has weaponized self-worth into self-worship. Everyone's the victim. No one's the lesson. You deserve better became a participation trophy handed out after emotional failure. It's not about finding peace. It's about preserving pride. It allows you to skip reflection and rewrite the story as if you were flawless, while your ex becomes a villain and your friends nod along in moral applause. But what if better isn't a person waiting out there? It's the version of you that never got built because comfort felt easier than confrontation? That's the part no one wants to talk about. In a culture where validation replaces growth, the phrase keeps people stuck in the exact patterns that broke them. It's emotional junk food. Tastes good, changes nothing. We've built an entire generation that's addicted to being told they're right, when the truth is, they're just unexamined. You deserve better isn't healing. It's sedation. It's what you tell yourself when reality is too expensive to face. And the most dangerous part? It sounds like love but functions like denial. Modern relationships aren't failing from cruelty. They're collapsing under the weight of comfort dressed as empowerment. The "you deserve better" trap works because it hijacks one of the brain's oldest survival instincts, ego protection. Psychologists call it self-serving bias, the tendency to rewrite failure as someone else's fault so we don't have to confront our own. It's emotional self-preservation disguised as self-esteem. When a relationship ends, instead of examining patterns, avoidance, control, emotional immaturity, the brain rushes to find a hero and a villain. Guess who gets to play which? You deserve better delivers instant relief, like a dopamine hit to a bruised identity. It rewires the story so you win by default. But that relief has a cost. Accountability dies. Growth can't exist in a mind that refuses to be wrong. The mechanism feeds on emotional comfort. It thrives in therapy quotes, online echo chambers, and friends who'd rather console than confront. Every breakup post that says, "You did your best, they just couldn't handle you," is emotional fast food, sweet, easy, and nutritionally worthless. Over time, this narrative breeds emotional entitlement, the belief that love should reward existence, not effort. But the truth is brutal. You don't attract better by deserving it. You attract better by becoming it. Deserving is passive. Doing is power. The "you deserve better" mechanism keeps people stuck in self-celebration instead of self-confrontation. It soothes the wound while secretly deepening it. The longer you live in the fantasy that you're always the prize, the less you evolve into someone who can sustain the love you claim to want. The trap doesn't just protect your heart, it imprisons it, wrapping ego in velvet while convincing you it's healing. She posts a breakup reel with sad music and captions it, "I finally realized my worth." The comments flood in. "You deserve better, queen." For a moment, she believes it. Dopamine spikes, validation flows. But by next week, she's swiping through the same type of men with a different haircut. The lesson wasn't learned, it was liked. Another woman leaves a good man because he didn't match her emotional checklist of how real love should look. He was kind, consistent, maybe a little boring. She calls it self-respect. Months later, she's back in the same story, different name, still wondering why no one can meet her energy. Then there's him, the guy who got dumped and turned it into a redemption arc. He hits the gym, posts cryptic quotes, and convinces himself she just couldn't handle his depth. The reality? He never learned to communicate. Everyone's healing, but no one's evolving. That's the dirty secret of "you deserve better." It's therapy without accountability. It's a social ritual that lets people escape responsibility under the illusion of empowerment. Real growth isn't aesthetic. It's ugly, uncomfortable, and often humiliating. It's looking at your part in the wreckage without flinching. But modern dating doesn't reward that. It rewards narrative control. So people rewrite history, not themselves. The woman who glowed up after heartbreak is just better at curating pain. The man who says he's focusing on himself is really avoiding the mirror. You Deserve Better turns pain into performance and self-awareness into spectacle. Everyone's healing publicly, but no one's healing honestly, and that's why nothing changes. At a biological level, the "you deserve better" trap hijacks the reward centers of the brain, giving emotional validation the same chemical hit as truth once did. Dopamine doesn't care why you feel good, it only rewards that you do. So, when heartbreak hits, and your friends, followers, or therapist flood you with reassurance, your brain floods you with relief. But relief is not recovery, it's reinforcement. Psychologically, the mind learns that accountability equals pain and validation equals safety. The result? Emotional dependency masked as self-love. The modern mind now seeks affirmation instead of accuracy, and healing becomes a group performance where truth is optional as long as the applause keeps coming. The limbic system, the brain's emotional regulator, loves consistency, even when that consistency is chaos. So if I was right and they were wrong feels familiar, it becomes the default narrative. This is why people repeat the same toxic relationships. They'd rather be right than fulfilled. There's also the hormonal cocktail of righteousness. When you convince yourself that you deserve better, cortisol drops, oxytocin rises, and you literally feel safer inside your own delusion. It's emotional anesthesia disguised as empowerment. The deeper psychological mechanism is ego preservation. Your self-concept must survive, even if truth doesn't. That's why growth feels painful. Your ego is chemically allergic to humility. But the biology isn't the enemy. It's just misused. The same dopamine that rewards denial can be retrained to reward discipline. The same hormones that protect pride can rebuild peace. The trick isn't to silence the ego. It's to educate it. Because you don't evolve by being told you're enough. You evolve by finally admitting you're not finished. The "you deserve better" mindset hides behind polished habits and moral language, but its symptoms are easy to spot once you're honest. The first sign is instant moral elevation. You leave a relationship and immediately become the hero in your story, skipping accountability for reflection. The second is narrative inflation. You exaggerate your ex's flaws to justify your escape, rewriting incompatibility as abuse and disappointment as betrayal. The third is echo chamber therapy. You surround yourself with friends who hype your pain instead of questioning your part in it. The fourth is addiction to reassurance. You don't want feedback, you want validation that the breakup was destiny. The fifth is selective memory. You remember the worst moments vividly and the good ones vaguely because empathy threatens the storyline. The sixth is spiritual bypassing. You call your avoidance healing and your indifference boundaries. The seventh is entitlement disguised as self-worth. You measure potential partners by what they can give, never by what you can offer. The eighth is online sanctification. You turn your heartbreak into content, craving digital comfort more than real introspection. The ninth is emotional inflation. You believe your pain is proof of depth, mistaking sensitivity for wisdom. And the last is stagnant self-awareness. You talk about growth but repeat the same dynamics because the only lesson you learned was how to sound enlightened. These aren't symptoms of trauma, they're signs of denial. The "you deserve better" trap keeps you emotionally parked in a narrative that flatters you but doesn't free you. Growth begins the moment you ask the one question everyone else avoids. What if I wasn't the victim? The people who break free from the "you deserve better" trap don't do it through self-love quotes. They do it through self-confrontation. The first counter-signal is emotional honesty. They stop performing healing and start practicing it. They admit the ugliest truth of all. Sometimes they weren't the better person, they were just the louder victim. The second is accountability as medicine. They rewatch their own behavior like a documentary, cringing, learning, adjusting. The third is ego detox. They stop treating validation like oxygen and start breathing real humility again. The fourth is pattern auditing. They ask not, "Why did they do this to me?" but, "Why do I keep ending up here?" The fifth is quiet healing. They stop broadcasting growth online for approval and start doing the work in silence. Real peace doesn't post. The sixth is gratitude for clarity. They stop calling pain punishment and start seeing it as curriculum. The seventh is redefining worth. They learn that worth isn't proven by what they walk away from. It's proven by what they can repair. The eighth is emotional risk-taking. They start giving people grace again instead of collecting red flags like trophies. The ninth is truth over tribe. They stop choosing friends who enable delusion over those who challenge it. And the final counter-signal is self-respect. Through humility, they realize growth isn't about being right, it's about being real. The moment they stop needing to win the breakup, they start winning their peace. The "you deserve better" mindset feeds ego. Resilience feeds evolution. You don't become better by deserving more. You become better by deserving yourself. The "you deserve better" trap thrives because the modern world monetizes validation. The first antagonist is pop psychology, a trillion-dollar industry that sells comfort as enlightenment. Every breakup becomes healing, every boundary becomes self-care, and every ounce of accountability gets rebranded as protecting your peace. The second is social media empathy loops. Thousands of strangers telling you you're right without knowing your story. Every like reinforces the lie. The third is therapeutic overreach. People self-diagnosing personality disorders onto exes and using mental health jargon as moral armor. Narcissist, gaslighter, avoidant, buzzwords that make complexity sound convenient. The fourth is algorithmic exploitation. Platforms track heartbreak like a market trend, feeding you motivational soundbites until delusion feels like doctrine. The fifth is cultural narcissism. A society addicted to self-expression but allergic to self-reflection breeds people who would rather be celebrated than changed. The sixth is pseudo-spirituality. Healing culture turned accountability into blasphemy. Everyone's vibrating higher, but no one's grounded enough to love properly. The seventh is commercial empowerment. Influencers sell self-worth courses that teach confidence without competence. The eighth is revenge branding. Every failed relationship becomes an aesthetic. Every heartbreak a rebrand. Pain turned into PR. The ninth is friendship inflation. We call enablers support systems when they're really defense attorneys for our denial. And the final amplifier is cultural exhaustion. Everyone's tired, distracted, and emotionally overfed, but spiritually malnourished. The world profits from your outrage and your victimhood because both keep you scrolling. Breaking the cycle requires rebellion. Choosing silence in a culture that rewards noise, and choosing truth when comfort is trending. The cost of the "you deserve better" culture isn't just broken relationships, it's broken self-awareness. The first consequence is permanent victimhood. When every heartbreak becomes someone else's fault, you trade growth for grievance. The second is emotional inflation. Words like toxic and abuse lose meaning, numbing genuine accountability. The third is romantic paralysis. When you believe you always deserve better, no one will ever be enough. Every new partner is a mirror you refuse to look into. The fourth is narcissistic healing. Growth becomes aesthetic. Candles, crystals, captions, but nothing internal shifts. The fifth is connection decay. Genuine intimacy can't survive in people addicted to validation. The sixth is truth aversion. When comfort becomes a worldview, even honesty feels like cruelty. The seventh is moral loneliness. Everyone's healed, but no one's humble. They're too busy curating self-worth to actually build self-awareness. The eighth is disillusionment. Once the dopamine fades, the mirror stares back, and for the first time, there's no one else to blame. The ninth is community collapse. When everyone's the victim, empathy loses its value. Society becomes a collection of isolated self-legends, loud, fragile, unteachable. And the final consequence is meaning erosion. Relationships lose depth because everyone's terrified of accountability. Love becomes transactional, forgiveness optional, and growth performative. The "you deserve better" mantra didn't create healing, it industrialized avoidance. It made pride look like peace and denial look like empowerment. And once that narrative calcifies, self-reflection feels like betrayal. The tragedy is that people who live in this delusion never actually get better. They just get older, lonelier, and more allergic to truth. Because the one thing they truly deserved, growth, was the only thing they refused to earn. Freedom from the "you deserve better" trap starts with the kind of honesty that burns before it heals. The first act of agency is radical self-inquiry, asking, what part of me keeps choosing what hurts me, instead of rehearsing victimhood? The second is emotional humility. You stop needing to be the saint in your story and start accepting that sometimes you were the storm. The third is pattern literacy. You map your relationships like equations, tracing where ego replaced empathy and pride replaced partnership. The fourth is forgiveness without superiority. You forgive not because you've ascended, but because you've finally stopped playing God with other people's flaws. The fifth is redefining worth. It's not what you walk away from, it's how you show up next time. Real worth is behavioral, not theoretical. The sixth is truth tolerance. You learn to hear hard feedback without collapsing. Growth requires friction. The seventh is reinvesting in effort. You stop using detachment as armor and start risking connection again. Emotional courage becomes the new status symbol. The eighth is empathy accountability. You hold compassion and consequence in the same hand, loving yourself enough to admit when you were wrong. The ninth is quiet redemption. You outgrow the need for applause. The work speaks for you. And the final act of agency is choosing evolution over ego. You no longer chase being understood. You chase understanding. You stop waiting for better and become it. The truth is, healing isn't about getting what you deserve, it's about getting what you finally earned through honesty. Peace doesn't come from being right, it comes from being real. In the end, the "you deserve better" trap isn't a mantra, it's a mirror. It reflects everything we don't want to see about ourselves. We've built a culture that preaches self-worth, but forgets self-work. We want the prize without the process, the apology without the audit, the healing without the humility. But the truth is, no one deserves better by default. Love, peace, and growth are earned through self-awareness, not slogans. The modern obsession with affirmation has turned accountability into the enemy. But you can't evolve while you're protecting your ego. The people who actually find better aren't the ones who post about it. They're the ones who bleed for it privately, quietly, consistently. They're the ones who stop talking about healing and start living it. They stop chasing partners who mirror their pain and start becoming people who attract peace. The irony is, once you do that, better stops being something you deserve. It becomes something you embody. Because better isn't a person waiting out there. It's a standard you live by in here. And the moment you realize that, everything shifts. You stop trying to win breakups and start winning your life back. You stop rehearsing self-love and start practicing self-respect. You stop asking the universe for upgrades and start asking yourself for effort. The "you deserve better" era sold you comfort, but the truth will give you freedom. So next time someone tells you that line, don't nod. Ask the only question that actually heals. Better than what I was yesterday, or better than who I keep pretending to be. Better isn't something you deserve, it's something you become.